It was such a clear and definitive, powerful speech from President Biden, who has been just an incredible leader over the last 11 days.
He was in command. He was strong.
He also was a comforter in chief. I thought it was very moving.
What you saw tonight was a savvy and experienced president. Times like this, I look and say, thank God Joe Biden's our president, not Donald Trump.
The left is trying to paint Joe Biden as a strong wartime president after his Oval Office address last night, but in reality, it was a total miss. Joining me now is Stephen Miller, founder of America First Legal and former senior advisor to President Trump, along with Monica Crowley, former assistant Treasury Secretary in the Trump White House. Stephen, what speech were they watching?
Not the same speech that you and I and the rest of America was watching. The president portrayed weakness. That is the fundamental image that came across to the millions of people both watching it here and around the globe. American citizens are being taken hostage by Hamas. They are the prisoners of Hamas. They have been brutalized. They have been murdered. They have been subjected to horrors that we cannot even imagine. And instead of looking into that camera and saying, do not touch a hair on their head, do not hurt our people, don't you dare, you will regret it for 1,000 lifetimes. Instead of that, he gave some speech about Islamophobia and how we have to be nicer to everybody and how we all have to show restraint. It was an embarrassment.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. On the right side of the screen, you can see Air Force One. The president is leaving. He's about to go to Rehoboth Beach. All right, Monica, you know, Biden did mention Iran's connection to Hamas, but only briefly. Take a listen.
Iran is supporting Russia in Ukraine, and it's supporting Hamas and other terrorist groups in the region, and will continue to hold them accountable, I might add.
Is that supposed to sound forceful? It almost sounded like a footnote mentioned in passing.
Yeah, I mean, what does that even mean? The American president is sitting there while we've got American hostages on the ground in Israel. We've got Americans in harm's way thanks to his weakness. And, you know, the State Department just issued a worldwide caution for American citizens around the world. And he's saying that he's going to hold Iran accountable. Nobody knows what that means. He did not articulate that. The president should have laid out a very aggressive agenda of exactly how he is going to hold Tehran accountable. And instead, you know, what he is doing is the exact opposite. He is fully committed to resurrecting the Iran nuclear deal, which is incredibly destructive, dangerous, and destabilizing to the region and the world. And he also remains committed to enriching Iran through lax sanctions enforcement. So he can talk all day long about accountability for Iran, but his actions show the exact opposite. It shows empowering Iran, which is behind all of these attacks and is the largest state sponsor of terror and has been for 40 years.
Stephen, you know, I want you to take a listen to this sound about the Muslim community being frustrated.
I know many of you in the Muslim American community, the Arab American community, the Palestinian American community, and so many others are outraged and heartened, saying to yourselves, here we go again with Islamophobia and distrust we saw after 9/11. We must, without equivocation, denounce anti-Semitism. We must also, without equivocation, denounce Islamophobia.
Did the president talk enough about the children, the victims of October 7th?
No, of course he didn't. And I want to return again to this point. Hamas has spilled American blood. They do not take this president seriously. They do not take this country seriously. Their leaders are just chilling out in Qatar, having the time of their lives, sipping champagne, living in their fancy compounds, having 10-course meals, loving life. They have absolutely zero fear of the repercussions of taking American lives. I'm not talking about fighting a war. I'm not talking about nation building. I'm talking about preventing foreign terrorists from murdering our people. President Trump used to say when he was in the White House, you murder our people and your life is forfeit. Your life is forfeit. Instead, all around the world, people think you can kidnap, imprison, torture, rape, murder, and maim Americans, and all you'll get is more money from Uncle Sam. Straight to Iran and straight into the terrorist pockets, straight to Gaza, straight to Hamas. This is a tremendous embarrassment and debasement and humiliation for this country.
You know, Monica, you were in the Treasury Department. We know that Donald Trump cut off the money. We know that Joe Biden turned the spigot back on. What should be done at this point to Iran?
Well, if you want to cut off the head of the snake, you go directly to Tehran and you do cut off the money. This administration so far has unfrozen about $10 billion. Everybody's focused on the $6 billion sitting in Qatar, which the administration refuses to move on. But since Joe Biden became president, he has unfrozen about $10 billion. On top of that, because this administration has refused to forcefully enforce the sanctions against Iran, they've enriched Iran to the tune of about $80 billion by allowing them to make that money in oil profits. Exactly. So if you want to cut the head off the snake, you have to stop the money flow. And this administration refuses to do it because they're absolutely committed to resurrecting the Iran nuclear deal, which was Obama's big legacy item, incredibly destructive to the region and the world, but they are intent to do it. So they don't want to do anything that's going to alienate the Iranians, even in the face of this massive massacre in Israel.
It is amazing. Panel, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.